Welcome to the Forge by Design podcast. This is your host, Daniel Badijo. Thank you so much for all your support. You can always find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and our YouTube channel, Forge by Design. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Today on the Forge by Design podcast, we have a pioneer in the industry when it comes to change management, organizational design, strategic planning, executive training, among many other vital services. These services have not only been beneficial to those domestically, but also internationally, taking companies to be more profitable, more organized, and of course, with a positive outcome to reach all their key performance indicators. If it's about people management, we have with us Mr. Billy Bennett. How are you, sir?
Doing fine, Daniel. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for the honor of having you here on the Forge by Design. We had a great conversation before the podcast began, and you know how we get so involved in the conversation. Yeah. And I wanted to the audience to know a little bit more about yourself, not only on the personal level, but how did Pyramid ODI came to fruition?
Oh, well,
that was a loaded question.
Yeah,
wasn't
it? We actually launched in Belgium. I was in Europe with Johnson Controls. When I finished with Johnson Controls, rather than coming back to the U.S., I joined some colleagues there, and then later on, several of us formed our own group, and to tell you how customer focused we are, we didn't choose the name, our customer did.
Really?
Yeah, we are in the process of a major redesign activity with a company called CHEP. It was our client. They do pallet pooling, and was working at one of the depots and working with the people there and redesigning everything about how work actually took place there. And one night we're in the pub, and we had a side conversation, a couple of us who were in my group, and we had this list of names we were looking at, and the word pyramid was on one of those, and we couldn't make up our mind. We gave it to the client and said, pick one.
Oh, really?
And, yeah, wow. Pyramid was the thing that they picked out.
So it stuck.
Yeah, and I'm kind of glad it did because and there are some folks who go, ooh, pyramid, like pyramid scheme? No, sure, pyramid sure. Honestly, like most organizations are organized.
Correct.
Which is in a pyramid shape where you have this, the further up you go, one thing you get from that is you get to see far, but you can't see down that easily. Yeah. And getting all that, most of the time that organization is a dream of someone's. They have ideas of where it's supposed to be, what it's supposed to be doing, what it's supposed to be delivering. And it doesn't quite do that, which is where our purpose statement comes in, which is releasing potential, that there's this potential within that pyramid, but it rarely gets released. There's almost always a gap. And what we try to do is, let's even go past what you're thinking about. Let's really push the edge of this. Certainly at the time we were doing that work in this little town in the Netherlands where we were at the moment, this was taking an operation that had been the worst globally. They had 100% annual turnover of employees.
Oh wow, that's
They had a 25% absence rate.
That's
their quality,
catastrophic.
Talk about their quality level. Sure. It was like the worst, certainly within the Benelux where it was, but their repair rate, which was, well, let's just say it was also the worst in the industry. And the problem there is if you are trying to replace someone buying pallets, you better have your cost in line on that. And they had replaced 5 managers in 3 years. It was not a healthy workplace. And the general manager for the Benelux, who became a lifelong friend, he said, I see these guys in the pub, and I hear them talking about they're making major capital decisions. They're buying houses. They're sending their kids to university. I mean, they're doing big things. Mm-hmm. And then they come to work and they have to ask permission to get a 50-cent saw blade.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, everything they're doing is so micro-controlled. I'm just not, I want what I'm seeing out there. I want them to see it in here. I want them to be a part of it. And that's, now you're talking me, because that is our big thing has been you release the potential of your organization by making people a part of it. They're a part of the decision making. It's not just, we talk about, you hear the word empowerment, you hear the word engagement.
A lot of buzzwords in the industry.
A lot of words like that. Now, you kind of ask people, so tell me what that means and what that looks like. And rarely can you get a good answer on that. And for me, it is about decision making. Tell me how involved people are in making the decisions, because if you are a part of creating something, you're a part of owning it.
Correct. Yes.
If not financially, certainly mentally.
You have a very interesting background. You said in psychology.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So you graduated in psychology. As you were taking, did you ever see yourself being a people person? Obviously, you have a great foundation.
Did I see myself working in business and factories?
And with people, with factory, with not only factory, but this is international people, different background, ethnicities, educational levels, different academia. During college, you said, this is what I want to do, or how did this evolve to?
No, I thought I was going to be in clinical.
In clinical.
Yeah, I thought I was going to go that route. Daniel, little that I have gone into was a part of my plan.
Okay.
There must have been a bigger plan somewhere else.
Absolutely,
because it kept taking me to places I did not expect. But everything I did perfectly prepared me for the things that I eventually did and went into. My work in education after I finished school, work in mental health. And then I found myself at some point working with a company called Oxford Industries, we're the third largest apparel manufacturer in the United States, and working in Vidalia, Georgia. I didn't think I'd be in a corporate headquarters in Vidalia, Georgia. Right?
Yes.
And this ended up being where our R&D unit for this large apparel manufacturer was, and that is also where they decided they wanted to place a corporate technical training center. They had never done anything corporately like that before. It was a very decentralized company, a lot of different divisions, and they didn't think they could learn from each other. And so I got the assignment to come in, and when I say build, I worked on the drawings, I bought the equipment, we did the first courses.
From scratch.
It was
ground zero.
It was clean sheet. And we got to do it. And before long, we were providing education and training, not just for our corporation, but we were selling our services outside to the industry. We were the only non-equipment provider that provided training. So that made us independent of the equipment, which made a lot of the industry trust us for what we did.
Outstanding.
And then from there on that led to leaving and going to Europe with Johnson Controls and launching automotive seating plants around Europe.
That's outstanding, because you were telling me the difficulties that it was the first seating company that had to be established. Was it in Belgium or was it in Spain?
It was the first one. The launch was in Belgium. The first plant was in Belgium.
Correct.
We had Johnson Controls at the time had purchased a UK operation that made steel frames, and then it was the first Japanese UK joint venture that essentially the first Japanese supplier was for Nissan up in the Newcastle area of the UK. So we had that operation. We had something totally different from that, which was our seat frame plant down in the South End Leigh-on-Sea of the UK. And the reason I'm smiling because I'm thinking about the contrast. The two. You can imagine this very edgy Japanese philosophy style facility up in Newcastle, and then
more flexible.
Well, let's say when we go down south to that metals operation, and I walked through it the first time, I went, oh my gosh, I'm getting visions of Charles Dickens novels in here. It's like, more gruel, please. I mean, it was terrible. The tea lady would come by with the tea cart. It was just everything that was wrong about competitive business was in the South versus the North. And so I ended up having a lot of change activities going on there. Meanwhile, we are launching about 7 plants in about 2 years across Europe.
We talked about stress management there. I still can't wrap my head around 7 plants.
Okay, well, let me tell you how. Let me give you an example. My first week, I showed up on Monday morning. We were in the middle of a launch, a jump. Okay, so we're going from one level to another level, which always puts strain in your launch plan. And I started on Monday, 9 o'clock. Actually, 8 o'clock I was there. Left Wednesday at 4 o'clock.
Oh my God.
Went home, went to sleep, crashed.
Sure. Had to.
My boss called me. My new boss called me. Said, hey, you want to go play 9 holes?
You said yes.
Sure, it's my new boss, right? So we go out, we play 9 holes. This Belgium, it's it's summertime, so it's bright till late at night.
Yeah.
And by our time here. And then we go out, we play 9 holes, and he said, hey, you want to go check on the plant? Well, of course.
Sure.
So Wednesday night, I'm back, and I leave Friday at 4 o'clock.
Oh.
And I said, this isn't bad, only a 2-day work week. But that was my life for the next couple of years as we were launching these plants. You live in those things because everything you're doing, everything we were doing at the time had not been done before.
Correct. This was before you mentioned, before lean, before you called it lean, before you called it just in time, before lean.
Yeah.
So when you spent 30 years helping organizations transform, when you walk into a struggling company, what are the first signs that tell you that the real problem isn't the process, that it's the culture?
Okay. Well,
how do you differentiate?
Well, let me say, you don't really differentiate because the process and the culture go together. If that process may be that process because of the culture, or that process may be failing because of the culture.
Correct.
If you try to do something new and the culture doesn't support it, because culture is behavior, culture is what is acceptable or not acceptable. And if you need to make something work that is beyond what you do now, your culture is likely going to get in the way. But since you asked the question, what do I first see? I'll tell you. First couple of things that I'm taking information on the first one. I call my smile index.
Okay, what is that?
Okay, I walk through the plant, I walk through the facility, I look at people, and I smile. Do they return the smile or not? Do they avoid eye contact? Do they engage with me? It tells you immediately how open, how hospitable, how welcoming a place. If it's not welcoming for me, a guest who's coming in, if people are like that, I wonder how it is with them working with each other. How engaged are they with their customer? That's already telling me something. Next, who are we spending time with? Who do they want me to meet and talk to? And if I'm in their office, I'm looking around and looking at their books and looking at what they're reading is, and I'm looking to see, is that just ornamentation?
Yes.
Or have they actually read those books? And if they have...
I've also seen a lot of companies that have a lot of posters, right? Teamwork posters. They adorn, they decorate the walls with posters, but that, like you said, the culture, you don't feel what the poster is saying or reflecting.
And processes are like that as well. Visual management is like that as well. Have they created it with the people? Who put that up there? Who created it? Who's got that? Who's making that happen? Along the way, people have talked about, we're doing this year. We're doing Six Sigma. We're doing Lean. We did that already. Teams. We did that already. And you hear that and you realize it's what I call ornaments on a Christmas tree. We hang a new ornament this year. What's this year's ornament?
Sure.
And the problem right now is people are kind of looking at hanging the AI ornament on the tree.
Yes.
And
that's a big one.
That's there until Christmas is over,
yes.
or somebody drops the ornament and it breaks. Well, that didn't work. And now they're on to the next thing. Now they have a series of failed, well, either we did that or that doesn't work.
Correct.
And that creates a culture of we can try anything, but we're not going to make anything work.
From your experience, when you are observing the culture, the process, now that you have, how long would it take you to know or to sense that it's not a process, it's a culture? Or there's months?
Minutes sometimes. Minutes sometimes. Usually it's something you learn every step along the way. Every interaction you have tells you a lot about it. No, it doesn't take months. Well, one reason is because we spend, depending upon what we're doing, we spend time, for example, doing surveys or following up on a company's survey they've done of their employees, and we're doing
Correct.
Focus groups with them. We're doing interviews with the employees and the leadership people at all levels. So we're learning real quickly. And in times we have actually had a part of our business for a period of years there where I put teams in place to actually run businesses because they've been pretty much run into the ground. And we put teams in place to run the business, bring it back up, and then hire our replacements and train them to actually run the business while we moved out. In the first 2 weeks, when we're in that situation, we are spending 2 weeks just getting to know everybody we're going to be working with intimately. What is sad to me is that in every one of those cases we've been into, in 2 weeks, and we're not saying we know everything about
Sure.
their people, but in those 2 weeks, we always know more about their people than their leaders do.
Oh, wow, that's outstanding. That's a shame.
It is a shame, but it
shame.
tells you where you're starting.
Sure.
Because if you don't even know your people, how are you going to get them engaged,
Absolutely.
really engaged? How are you going to make them a part of things? And right off the get-go, the first thing we want to work with those people because we know what we're going to be asking them to do. We need them to trust us.
Is this since you've helped multi-million-dollar organizations change? Is this what Pyramid ODI calls intensive care?
Yeah,
intensive care.
Yeah, that would be the intensive care where we've actually gone in because, in fact, we in a couple of cases told we don't have the leaders to work with. They are so, and usually they've been in businesses where they're very important. One was supplied the major aircraft manufacturers as well as the Air Force, and another one that was supplying the U.S. Navy and nuclear facilities.
Sure.
They were making products that went into those places, and where the safety and security for each of us is really important. I've done work where, let's say on a different kind of level with chemical plants, where let's say they are part of their big supply is chlorine. Well, if a chlorine car releases, it kills people.
Yes.
So you really need to think seriously about the work that you're doing, but also understand that purpose that it gives you to create a place that is doing important work that needs to have important standards that it keeps. It requires the people in it to be intensively a part of that, to feel like they own and value
Sure.
that purpose as well.
So were they part of creating the procedures, work instructions, standard operating procedures, or was it simply granted to them and they were trained, maybe sometimes even on-the-job training, where there hasn't been trained the trainer, just simply learning that maybe did not feel included in the process, therefore they feel that they have no ownership of things that may need to change.
Exactly. I mean, they would in fact go, well, that's not our job. Now, it's not our job because that's their desire.
Sure.
It's not our job because leadership has signaled to them it's not their job. You turn that around and go, I need you. I want you to be a part of this. Your opinion matters. Come go on this journey with us. It's a whole different world.
Mindset, different mindset.
Yeah, and you end up, this is where dramatic improvement comes from. This is where real profitability comes from. This is how you get things to happen that don't happen otherwise.
Sure.
It's very frustrating to hear people, for example, they talk, well, young people today, they don't work. They don't have a work ethic. Sure. Give me a break.
Yeah.
There are things that sure can be different generationally, but people have been people for eons.
Yes.
Right? As long as there have been people, we've had pretty much the same kind of issues. Technology changes around us. Economies ebb and flow, but people, they want to do meaningful work. They want to raise a family. They want their kids to do better than they did. But they want to be a part of something that makes a difference.
And so after the 2 weeks of observation, in some cases maybe a little faster than just 2 weeks of observation, and knowing the people, knowing the culture, assessing the process, what would be the next step in order to effectively execute a plan?
Well, it's to put together a plan.
You got to have a plan. So the current plan did not work.
Yeah, except obviously we're not there because the plan's working.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
So let's backtrack that one.
And let me say this, and it's not because, sometimes it's because when you're so into it and the dynamics are so much that you can't really see your way out of it. And so you need some external eyes to help with that.
And when do you see that there's a delay in the industry for potentially a CEO, maybe a corporate group, to gently and maybe humbly, I say this, maybe humbly take the white flag and say,
it's always got to be humility.
I need help. It's gotten to a point where we go in a fiscal year after fiscal year.
Rarely. We don't get clients from marketing. We get clients from somebody asked a good friend.
Sure.
Who do you trust? Because I've got some things I'm struggling with, or I've got some leaders I'm struggling with, or I've got a business that I'm struggling with, and we need to do something that involves people, and we need to make a breakthrough with those people. I need somebody that can help us with that, and that's when we had a call. I told someone recently I could look at my client list almost like you look at a family tree.
Sure. And
keep going all the way back.
Yes.
To see, and I know where that first contact came from that led to this one, that led to this one, that led to the next one.
That's great.
It is a high trust activity, and it is the ultimate humility, because no matter if you're an engineer or if you're a CEO, you kind of believe you're the one that's supposed to make that happen. And the real breakthrough comes when you can say, I need another perspective, or I need help, or this is an area and a challenge we haven't done before, or when we've tried to do it, we really haven't been that successful. And the leap we've got to make now is big. And, when they call me, I may not have the answer.
Sure.
But I'm going to be able to think through it and give them some options. That's one of my specialties, is being able to go, okay, let's think through how we could make this work, which may include things that they've done before, but they weren't successful with because they didn't deal with the whole system at the time. They tried that one thing didn't work, but in some other circumstances, some change circumstances, that thing actually may work again this time.
Sometimes you have to work at a macro level. Yeah. Step, from, okay. Because a lot of people see the day-to-day. I call it in the trenches, right? Yeah. You're in that assembly line, production line, the value stream, whatnot. And this is all you see. I mean, this is the day-to-day, and you're fighting these micro battles day in, day out, not meeting goals and objectives, not meeting KPIs. And it takes someone with the perspective of ODI to look from the outside in and say, you know what, you're doing all this activity, but activity does not equal productivity.
Yeah. Now, typically, they kind of know that. What they don't know is
how to.
How do we do this? So you mentioned two important words, macro and micro. And this, I think, applies now as we're looking at AI within organizations. You have a lot of people going out and they'll get their AI kit. Let's call it that AI ornament that they're going to hang on their Christmas tree. Let people use it.
I'm still trying to navigate through all this AI.
Well,
yes.
it's and everybody is and struggles with it. And in the process, you now are generating some challenges. One of those big challenges is people are concerned about using it because it may be replacing their job, they believe.
Sure.
What we do when we're looking at redesigning, let's say, an entire work as it is, as you know it, we'd start with a macro design. Who does the macro design? Well, that can be a leadership role, or a special team that's looking at the macro look of, if we could clean sheet this. And now that we've got this tool or this thing called AI that we can consider as a part of that design, but we're not going to worry about that yet.
Sure.
But if we wanted this to work ultimately, and we take the limits to how we work now off of our thinking, and we do true system design work, how would we draw it out? What should happen?
Sure.
Why do we work that way? Really start to question everything you do and why you do, and look at if we could totally shorten the work that we do, and we create the macro design this would be kind of like our ideal state, right? Our 2B state.
Sure.
At which point now it's time to dive into the micro design. And the micro design comes in. That's where you get those people that actually do the work to be a part of designing the work they do.
So they have the hard skills to do the micro design.
Yeah.
For me, from a lean manufacturing and Design Six Sigma. So from the Design Six Sigma, more long-term in the background, figuring out on the micro level how we can improve subsets or processes. Whereas more lean manufacturing is looking at the macro sense, how we can improve the process flow, the value stream, the things that we call visual management, Kaizen events, Gemba walks, and so forth. But I think people lose sense when there is not someone that does not lead them, and this is not going to work. We've done this before.
Let me give you my own good example.
Please,
I had a client that said, we got some, and I'd been telling him, I said, you need to do some work that would be along the lines of lean. He said, could you help us do that? And I was already doing some work with them on problem solving training and doing some coaching of them. And I said, okay, we're going to do it, but we're going to do it right. And doing it right means we're going to start in one area.
Yes.
And that one area, and I got a guy who's going to work with them. And they'll be doing things like interviewing. We start at one end of the process, and they'll interview their customer, which is the next step in the process, right?
Yes.
What do they need? What works? What doesn't work? What are the variances that come up? What are things that we do at this first part of the process that make your life miserable? When it doesn't pass on like you need, right? And then go down the chain too and look and see where did stuff you did actually create a domino effect of problems as you go. Now come back here. And now I'm not talking about working with the engineer. With that, the engineer could certainly be involved. The supervisor would be certainly. I'm talking about the people that do that work. And so we had them create the first board, and the board was whiteboard with marker drawn lines, not pretty tape or anything like that. Not any pre-printed activity. And they would, at various set times during the day, record information, numbers or things that went wrong, along the way. And we would have points in the morning and midday, and at the end of the day, we do a plan, do, debrief process we call, where they're around the board and they are completing it themselves. We don't want our hands on it. It's them because it's their board.
Correct.
Right? It's their work. And they need a physical interaction. This is where the psychology part comes in. A physical interaction with those numbers because it's their numbers. It's their stuff. And how we react to their stuff is going to say a lot about the culture we want to have. Because now we are taking the culture down to its bare bones, and now we're building it back up.
Sure.
Okay?
Yes.
Now we've got guys that own that process, that own that work. They want those numbers to be better.
Correct.
So they work to make them better.
Do they have in the background, because from a production management standpoint, takt time, part yield, Okay, I want to make it better. I want to make it safer,
when necessary.
But I've got this pressure of I've got to make X amount of units.
Absolutely.
I don't want to be the bottleneck in this process.
But here's the thing. Even stuff like tack time and things like that is based on time studies, is based on things that are based on old work, not on what it could be. Let's see what it could be. And when you get involved, I had good fortune at some point to, when I was working with the clothing industry, we actually left time studies behind and went to MTM studies, went to method time measurement. In other words, what is it that you do? And looking at process first rather than looking at time studies.
Sure.
But in this case, let's don't worry about that right now. Let's start where we are, because we always start where we are. Let's see where we can go. And when you do that, and when you got the right culture, it'll blow your time studies away.
I think that's part of your approach where you said differentiating between lean manufacturing and a lean culture.
Yes, the culture becomes different. Now, let me continue with the story, because what came next as we were in the process of doing this first operation, they had new leadership at the top of their organization, not the plant, but corporately, let's say. And he gave an edict to the plant. I'm coming in there next month. I want to see boards in every unit. Well, of course, they put boards up, but did they do it the same way? No, they were pretty, beautiful, and all the who put the numbers up there? Where did they come from? Who owned the boards? I would wonder if today, if you go through the facility, where that ownership level is, because it certainly wasn't there after that for some time. That became something, as far as they were concerned, the guys at the other end of the facility where this, but it was a tool to beat them with. Same thing as tack time. Same thing as it is a tool to, you're just trying to get more work out of us. Not what is winning? How do you win? Do you want to win?
Sure.
You tell me what winning is. I'll help you get there. And at every plateau you get to, it's what could we do to make it easier for you to win more?
One of the things that I learned from one organization was that anytime there was a problem, the operators performed the 5 why. Not the engineers, not the managers, not the supervisors. They took ownership, and with their, I don't want to say limited skill sets, but they knew enough to be very descriptive on what was the root cause of this issue. They went through the 5. Why did it happen, and why did it escape? And to me, that was very, life learning, because you have the mindset that where's the quality engineer, where's so-and-so at a macro level, and that when those individuals took ownership of this is mine, you saw that there was no scrap there. It was clean. They had a good 5S program, and it was life-changing.
So you mentioned another word that's real important earlier in our conversation, humility. As a leader, let me just tell you what my data tells me. When I was working on a project with Oxford Industries, and we had this massive radical change, we had to find a way to make these plants survive, because we were faced with the first time I learned about tariffs was in this situation where tariffs to the Caribbean were dropped. Yes. And now we're competitive overnight, or we are non-competitive, I should say, overnight. We're losing. We now have facilities that were selling out the door profitably at a rate that we couldn't even begin to make at that rate. We were losing money on every pair of pants going out of a pants factory, or every shirt going out. And so we worked to find a way to change, and we went from individual line work where bundles went through the facility to what we called modular manufacturing, or cells. Most people call self-managed work teams, where now instead of an individual go sit there, work all day, don't talk to anybody, get this work out, to now I need you to collaborate with this group of people together to get an output out of this. And the first cell that we went to put up, the engineers have been working on this. They had the design, and they're working, and something's not right. Now, the nice thing about a sewing plant
Sure.
is that machines are fairly easy to move around. It's not like big giant things, you know. And the ladies that were going to be a part of the first unit were standing to the side watching them do this. And after a while, the largest, biggest woman in this whole thing says, "What are you trying to do?"
Sure. She knew her stuff.
And we, the guys explained to her, and she said, "Get out of the way." She goes over and takes, she goes, "Phyllis, come here."
Yeah.
And they start moving the machines around and says, "Now try it." Now, whether it was as efficient as what the engineer designed, I have no idea, but I can tell you this, those ladies made it work.
Absolutely.
Because they created that.
Nice.
Well, that became a major learning point. Now, if those engineers had too much of an ego, we would have been dead in the water right there.
Wow.
What I noticed after that was I started observing, because my role was looking to see at these 40 different plants with all these different efforts we were doing, what was working and what was not working. And the one thing that I identified pretty early on was that the facilities that were being the most successful, one of the traits you could tag to their plant manager was humility. He was humble.
Good.
It doesn't mean he was quiet. It means he wasn't the charismatic leader.
Correct.
And he was open to learning for everything. Now, he still made the decisions. He still had the last call, but he was open to learn. And if you look at the work today, most businesses are designed to be great executors, but they're really not designed to be learning organizations. And the only way to make breakthrough is to have a massive learning culture.
Correct. Always be curious, always learn. I look at the complexities of, because they are complex on the new product development side, the project management, the advanced product quality planning, how it trickles down to all these sub-processes, establishing your supply chain and all the qualifications and all the stress that goes with it. A lot of times in the automotive industry, we adhere to many books. The IATF book, the APQP, SPC, MSA, FEMA, control plan, you name it. And those are, for us, the Bible, right? We have and endless checklists, because IATF requires that you do A, B, C, D, F, G in this order, checks and balances, a lot of verification. Whereas because you're doing a lot of things robotically, sometimes autonomously, you lose that people connection side, where at the end of the project, we have a lot of documentation, but very poor communication within these cells, within these groups.
Well, also what you have is, even those very things you're talking about become excuses not to change. Because because people start to assume what they can't do, as opposed to going, well, let's look at what we can do. Let's look at what's involved in that. I've worked in several highly regulated industries, aviation, rail, and that's exactly what happens. Is they go, well, we can't do this, we can't do that. And we go, really? Let's check that.
Sure.
Let's look at that. And most of the time, there are changes you can make, or there are guidelines that you have to stay within. But that doesn't mean you keep doing things the way you've always done it. And if necessary, you can create change even in those things. You just have to do it according to the rules and the process of doing that. But that's not we have a tendency, if we had gone into the apparel manufacturing with the idea that, we're dead because these folks are cheaper than us. They're cheaper than us because their wage rates were so low. Is this the only way we've got to compete? Is we got to race to the bottom in wages?
Sure.
That wasn't acceptable. I remember, in fact, one of the motivating events was I was walking through one of our division offices, and I saw a couple of guys, and they were as down as I'd ever seen them. Very optimistic people. And I said, what's going on? I said, well, we've got a plant that's got about 90 days worth of work, and then it's going to be closed because we are out of work for it.
Wow.
We can't compete.
90 days.
Yeah.
Wow.
And we had to the motivating factor for the guys working this, because we were in small rural towns around the Southeast. and you got close to those people. And a lot of times, in this particular plant was in a place where it was typically women because it was sewing.
Okay.
And they were working so they could have the health insurance because their husbands were farmers. The family business was farming. So if our plant went under,
their insurance went under.
And the community very likely would die. And that was what motivated us. We got to do something different. Well, about a year later, this plant had improved its quality and its performance so much that the bad news was even our sister plants could not take work for them because we couldn't deliver at the quality level or at the productivity level. We put a lot of effort into designing there. This was the same kind of business where when I walked in, we just built 5 new distribution centers. Sounds good, doesn't it? Looks good. Looks pretty, right?
Right.
Within about 3 years, we closed all those distribution centers, not because we were producing more, but because we were shipping straight from the floor.
Oh, that's insane.
We didn't need distribution centers anymore. That kind of thinking, like, why do we have distribution centers? Why do we need that? What if we didn't have it? I mean, that's just a holding place because we can't get our mix right or we can't deliver.
Right.
There's some reasons
safety
we can't
stock.
do. That's safety stock in the end. We look at it as it's necessary.
Right.
With us, it was questioning necessity every step of the way.
There's some industry in the automotive industry that, they're big on just in time.
Yeah.
And some like 2-3 weeks of safety stock because of the risks involved. And a lot of that is dealt to the supplier wants 2 weeks in their facility, and you've got to have 3 weeks here, and the supply chain agreements, you have to sign this. But to your point, there's a lot of benefits from studying those mechanisms, those processes in order to perhaps ship directly.
That's the winners are the ones that not just integrate, but totally rethink how they are doing and are willing to try and learn and keep pushing the idea. Most projects that I've worked on where we've had the biggest breakthroughs, people didn't even know how to think about what they saw after it was completed.
Sure.
I had one operation where, this is what I was telling you about before break, where it had 100% turnover annually of employees, had 25% absence rate. Every single measure that you could measure it by, there's no other way to say it. It sucked. That's the technical term.
That's the technical term. Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's no way to sugarcoat that.
I know there wasn't. And within a couple of years, certainly by year 3, they were the global leaders in every single measure you could imagine. Their annual turnover rate was 0. Their absence rate was down around 3%, 2.5% to 3%, which for the Netherlands the average was 10%, where this one was. They had more than doubled their repair rate from where it had been. Now, before going into that operation, these guys had nail guns that they used to assemble a plant, and they were using them at each other. I mean, it was
hostile.
Yeah. Well, it's why the last plant manager that was pulled out of there, we actually say we saved his life.
Wow.
And a couple of years later, we had a group visiting from a very big company. Brand would be known. They walked through the facility with the guys from the shop floor who led them on that tour. When they came back, their eyes were big like this. And they said, and we asked them, well, what'd you think? Well, we think it's amazing. We think it's fantastic. We don't think what you're doing here would work at our facility. Really? Why? Well, because we don't have the people that you've got. I thought,
wow.
These people 2 years earlier.
Yes. Yeah.
You might be picking them out of a lineup.
Right.
And yet
Hollywood transformed.
Those same guys not only took those guys on a tour, but they attended and presented at 2 international conferences to
that's
present
outstanding.
the work that they did.
So one of Pyramid's ODI's purposes is creating great work, great workplaces, and release potential. What does release potential actually look like inside an organization, and what prevents most companies from achieving it? This released potential.
Yeah, well, take that example. That's the example of CHEP is one of my favorite. It was if you had, when you looked at it at that time, you would not have believed what came out of it, to the point that they did build, there was some corporate reorganization. They built a new facility nearby, and they were going to close this one, not because of its performance. It was the best performing that it had, but they wanted to build a new facility, and they went a different route and were trying to automate a lot of this stuff. So now these teams that have been created have been so successful. Some of them moved to the new facility, but some were there. There were businesses in the area that hired, I think it was 3 of the teams that were hired by other businesses as intact teams. Said, if you will come together, we will keep you together as a team. We will change our work. Have you ever heard of that?
Never.
I've never heard of that before. I haven't heard of it since.
Sure.
But that's the kind of reputation it had. Who would have thought that it had that kind of potential, that kind of possibility? Who would have thought that on the day that they closed that facility, the last team there set a production record on its last day?
On its last day. Wow.
That was not because anybody asked them to do that. That was because it was built in, that thing I talked about earlier.
Sure.
We want to win. We want to be successful. We want to achieve a higher purpose to what we do.
That's identifying people with that potentiality. There's a lot of diamond in the rough, so to speak. I have, throughout my career, again, I've always considered myself a continuous student, always curious, always learning, always humble. I don't know it all. I learn through the operators and people, seniority folks, and just practicing humility and asking a lot of questions. I might annoy a few people because I may ask the same question to different people just to get different perspectives. And I've seen that there's a lot of potential in the workforce that never have the opportunity to maybe be placed in a position to lead others. It could be,
or just bring their talents to it. I haven't. We talked about those nice posters. Those pretty posters.
Yes.
Most change projects that we're in, I keep my eyes open for who's the artist in here, because I guarantee in every plant there's a musician, there's an artist.
Oh, absolutely, yes.
There's a sound guy. There's there's folks with talents.
Yes.
And interests that light them up, that excite them, that in any kind of major change process, you need all that, right?
And this is where the Birkman's model comes in, looking at people's interests. Yeah. Is that your first approach when you're training folks and for the first few days?
When you talk about the Birkman, that is an assessment that we do use to collect data.
The initial assessment.
The reason that it's an assessment I use as a part of coaching, as a part of team development, as a part of selection processes. It's a tool I use now to help me. Well, for one, because of what it does, it identifies someone's strengths that they are trying to implement. It can identify for us what they need from the people and the work around them in order to stay out of stress. But it also tells me how to recognize the stress behaviors that may come.
Sure.
And so if you're in a team working together and you guys know that about each other, then you know how to take care of each other. You know how to help each other. But it also identifies what are the motivational factors that this person needs. So it does identify, hey, there's this person has a really high artistic interest, a visual interest. Where does that come from? What's going on there? Now, we get a lot of that. Remember what I said about the 2 weeks?
Sure.
One of the questions we ask people, so what do you do outside of the work that nobody knows?
Nice.
What do you what's going on outside your life? And we find people who have hobbies and interests that we go, could be a use for that at some point, right?
I don't want to name anyone, but we had a very high professional with us. And his hobbies back, it was like a rock band.
Yeah.
And I see the individual, and there's nothing about rock band. About, it's like, where did this come from,
Right.
And it really threw us off. We had a really good laugh. But yes, absolutely. What's their interest?
And if you could experience that through the work that you do, Now, what that meant was he had a very high interest in sound.
Yes, sound, right? Music.
So audio, how things sound. So if you're going to make a presentation on something, maybe somebody with some audio kind of interest, how does what we are presenting sound to you?
Sure.
Okay? I did some work with Meta, with a group that was with their Instagram group, that was the marketing group from Instagram. It was a new group that had been put together. And at some point I heard in the conversation with them that they were not connecting well with their senior leadership. And they really were kind of frustrated by that. Well, we looked at their profile, and they're all high music, audio, high visual, high literary interest, which usually tells us very creative. Mm-hmm. And I said to them while I was working with them, I said, I bet you guys produce some really pretty pictures. I bet your slides are second to none. Oh, yeah, they're gorgeous. They're beautiful.
They took pride on that, yes.
So now tell me, the guys that you're presenting to, what do you think their interests are? Oh, they're real numbers nerds. They're real technical stuff. And I said, guys, what do you think's happening with your pretty slides? Nothing. Maybe going over their head.
Sure.
They're looking at that and thinking, you frou-frou guys, it's not, they probably would rather see the spreadsheet. Mm. You, again,
know your audience.
Know how to connect. My
producer is laughing because he's the loud, colorful band music guy. That's why I need that camera that way. I want to get that reaction next time. For the camera, we were talking about that camera. Exactly, because he giggles because he's not a spreadsheet guy. He wants the loud, the music.
Now, when we see those three measures, those three, art, music, and literature coming out, what I know I'm going to get is creativity.
Oh, nice.
So now maybe it's not art, music, and literature, but maybe it's we need a breakthrough. And maybe I need some different ideas. Had a guy in a group at a rail tank car manufacturer, and had one guy in the group, and at the beginning of it was problem-solving activity. At the beginning of the training, you could tell the guy was kind of an outcast to the group. As these guys had to get to studying the problem more, this guy got more into it. And when it got to thinking about how we're going to solve this problem, this guy took pieces of cardboard and built a model of what they were going to do. Yeah. All of a sudden, he went from being an outcast, kind of strange guy to being a key component of this group, and now adopted by the rest of the team. When people talk about diversity, spend way too much time talking about the wrong kinds of diversity. What we want in the end is we want diversity of experience, diversity of style, diversity of interest, diversity of strengths, diversity of sensitivities.
Correct.
Because if we know what we've got and we explore what we've got, my goodness, what we can do with that.
Pyramid ODI services what regions of the United States or abroad? I want to make sure that we give the audience that little, I don't want to stretch you thin, because if you start getting 20 calls after this,
please, I'll be picky.
Okay, no. You'll be picky. I shouldn't have had that podcast. But what regions do you serve, and how big is your group?
Our group I have a bunch of independents that work with me. So it depends on the project that we're working on. It can be as few as me, or we have had 10 to 20 working on projects that are the bigger ones, because I pull from a group of resources that based on the need that we have. As far as regions, we have worked in let's say as far Europe, of course, of all the European countries, Scandinavian countries. We have a major client in Denmark that I love. In the U.S., it is essentially from one end to the other.
Wow.
Canada. And probably the farthest out east was in Thailand.
Wow, that's outstanding. Yeah. A lot of diverse, different industries and so forth. Regarding the human side of change, many organizations invest heavily in new systems. This could be technologically systems, right? Technology, restructuring, yet change initiatives really fail. Why do people resist change, and how can leaders turn resistance into commitment?
Well, why do they resist change? Well, why would you? We are... almost genetically, we are wired to be more pessimistic than optimistic. We are wired to be more critical, and it is a security feature, right? It is a part of, if you weren't suspicious about something to some extent,
sure,
you get yourself in trouble. I mean, go back into the savannas of,
sure.
the early times of man. You needed to be wary, right?
Correct.
You learn that you touch fire, it burns,
sure,
right? So if you're not understanding that to begin with, this is one of the reasons for early involvement, and to know that your people appropriately are concerned about their future. And so, for example, when you think about AI coming in today, why is it Americans are more suspicious and more afraid of AI, and the Chinese are more excited about AI?
Correct.
Why would that be? Well, it is really how it's being communicated of what it is and what the possibilities are. It's because one group sees it as an enabler of possibilities, and the other sees it as it's going to take my job.
Correct.
And why has that happened? Well, because of the messages and the method of introduction or implementation, where it is being seen as something that is being done to you, not being done for you.
Wow, that's amazing. It's also a budget constraint for many people that still want to operate like 1960s mode. Maybe it works for them for the niche of products and services and customers, but the reality is that the world is moving every year, every decade, closer to automation, information systems. I myself, the pressures of, okay, I got to get certified on Claude and Gemini and ChatGPT and break this down and information analysis more rapidly, data banks and data analysis more rapidly. And sometimes it's expected. Oh, you're a quality assurance manager, so that means you come with the with the whole AI portfolio.
There is a saying that I do like, that is, you will not be replaced by AI. You will be replaced by someone using AI.
Oh, there you go. Kevin liked that one producing. There you go.
Probably the most frequent, if you ask leaders, what is their most significant tool, the most frequently used tool for implementing AI, they'll say training. Training's important, but it's not number one. Number one, set it aside and just know that set aside AI for a moment and know it's there as a tool. Now, let's think about what we might like to do if we had something like AI. You don't have to understand every nuance of AI
to
understand generally what AI might be. In fact, you get to ask the questions, well, this is my life would be easier. It'd be easier for my customers if I had some way of, or if my customer didn't have to do XYZ with this. Okay, now we look, where's the answer for that? Well, AI is going to be on there's a possibility, and it's not. You've got to have you have to do your design work for the future of how that AI is going to be a part of. It's now another team or a team member. And what's going to happen in most companies is not going to be a reduction in people. And why do I know that? Because if you took AI out of the equation, people would be hunting for bodies now. One of the biggest complaints I see is people that says they hire anybody here. Yeah, because there's nobody that's available now. I mean, that's an exaggeration, but it is very difficult to find the talent that you need. So what if we have a way of raising everybody's capability up a level from where they are, supplementing them with AI? What can they do now? Because the human brain, everything else is still an image or an impression, a facsimile of. It is still not the real thing. There's cool stuff that it does. There's great stuff that it does. But there still has to be a human in there, and the relationships are going to still be important. So your ability to understand AI is going to be important, but also your ability to judge, your ability, to know whether the output that's coming is good or not is important. Your ability to connect with other people at a human level is important. Remember that, say, if I could just see that behavior that I'm seeing in that pub and bring it in my business, we've been leaving people's talent, skills, and intellectual ability outside the doors of the plants for a long time. And the answer to all this is get it in here now.
Sure.
Because if you do and you let them look and explore how to do that, they'll create some wonderful ways of doing it. Now, that's what really scares a lot of leaders is they are fearful of what people might do
with the
if they are empowered.
Sure, yes.
With a kind, in other words, now, if you can handle that kind of freedom and flexibility, that's going to make you an amazing leader, and you're going to do some amazing things with your organization.
I think, the whole AI now, the class curriculum for elementary, middle school, and high school is definitely going to change in the near future because it's all transitioning to AI. And like you said, the workforce has some growth opportunities. I've constantly am in connection with MAU, Job Shop, Job Connection, Goodwill, XYZ. And the skill sets that the new employees bring, whether they bring or do not bring, and of course the organizations have the responsibility of training and changing that person into bringing them into hopefully a positive culture into the workforce. Looking back at more than 3 decades of helping organizations improve performance around the world. We date ourselves here at the Forge. What legacy do you hope to leave, and what advice will you give to the next generation of leaders who want to transform both organizations and especially transform people?
Legacy-wise, I hope I am... work is still the place where you spend most of your life, and working in a place. I said living. It is living in your work, and that work being not just satisfying but life-giving to you. The more you can be a part of creating a workplace and work approaches to work, where work becomes joy and hobby and love, not
joy, hobby, love. Yes.
Yeah. Not drudgery, not some place you go to spend time to do other stuff that you really love. I hope I help people put people in position in my career that they have made breakthroughs.
Nice.
There's a chemical plant I worked with a long time ago, and I'm kind of proud of where people ended up, like the maintenance guy who became the site leader of this very large, very highly valuable chemical plant. Nice. The engineer that went to be a chief operating officer at 2 other companies. The quality tech who eventually became the chief human resource officer for the global organization. It was now multiple times bigger of the organization than when she first started and was a part of it. Or the maintenance guy, the mechanic, who became the VP for all of the European business, which included Saudi Arabia and all as a part of the European region, and then globally. That's the kind of stuff
that's amazing.
They're proud of their business and their work, and they feel like they have made an impact on people's lives and careers, or that place where those guys got to be hired as an intact team, because somebody wanted not just one person, but they wanted them, because they knew they were special. That's the kind of legacy I want to leave. And to be honest with you, right now, when I see what's happening right now, we are at it'll probably be the last giant breakthrough of work because of AI as a technology that's coming on, and to be able to help people make that transition so that they again find joy in their work that they want to serve because of that they achieve that higher purpose. That's joyous. Now, when you say what do leaders need to know?
Sure.
Well, think about this. We have been working hard at implementing. we have been working hard at execution. Lean, Six Sigma, a lot of the processes that we've used have been very good about helping people gain some discipline, right?
Sure.
Having processes that repeat. That's good. That's very good. But think about cleaning the board, because we're in a creator economy now. And the whole idea behind AI and all this is the faster you can create, the faster you can innovate, the faster you can execute new ideas, learn from it, and then double down and create something else. In other words,
yes,
that's going to be the winners of the future. You're not going to do that all by yourself.
Correct, yes.
So unless you are finding, inspiring, supporting this creator economy, and I'm talking about even in a manufacturing plant.
Correct,
right?
yes.
We've got all the tools that we can put those processes into play. But how fast are you improving? How fast, which means how fast are you creating and recreating? Because that speed of that is going to determine the winners and losers in the long haul.
Outstanding. That's such an inspiration, and I love the fact that you are people focused and people growth, people development, and that's definitely inspiring. I know for a fact that not only domestically but also internationally, I won't say over 3 decades, but for over a long period of time, you have impacted so many people to be the better version of themselves, not only academically but also in serving others. PyramidODI.com. And when you look up that amazing website with so many resources, I want to say management consulting, HR consulting, executive coaching, leadership development, change management, training, team building, strategic planning, career development coaching, and corporate training. There's so much to talk about there, because every one of these little modules has different strategies, has different approach, not only to organizations, but also to people. And Pyramid ODI has all these services, 30 years of experience leading these organizations. We have had Billy Bennett with us, giving us a little a snapshot of what wealth of knowledge and experience that you've had, not only working with people on the shop floor, our associates, but also people on the corporate level at the highest level, making some major $1 million decisions across the globe, and how you have contributed to their success, not only their organization, but also at the individual level. I want to say thank you for joining us on the Forge by Design. PyramidODI.com for all these services. I want to say thank you for all your support. Thank you for your like, share, and subscribe, for tuning in, leaving us all the comments, all the suggestions. I want to say thank you for all the comments, uplifting us to continue moving forward. And I want to say thank you again to Mr. Billy Bennett, who has had a wealth of knowledge. I know after this podcast, we're going to continue talking just a little bit more, because I've got some questions to ask him. But I will see you on that next episode.